Oh, is that all you got, Beijing?
That's enough.
The film opens in Okinawa, Japan, where a young Daniel LaRusso visits the historic Miyagi family dojo. There, the wise instructor, Mr. Hong, shares with him the legendary tale of Miyagi Shimpo-sensei, the first of the Miyagi lineage to introduce karate to Okinawa. During one of his fishing trips, Miyagi Shimpo was caught in a fierce storm that swept him across the sea to the coast of China. There, he was rescued and taken in by the Han family, who taught him the ancient art of Kung Fu. After years of training, Shimpo returned to Okinawa, blending the teachings of the Han with his own heritage, thus giving birth to Miyagi Karate, a fusion of discipline, balance, and spirit. The story then transitions to modern-day Beijing, China, at the prestigious Han School of Kung Fu, where the skilled and disciplined Sifu Mr. Han trains a group of dedicated young students. During a morning session, he receives news of an expected visitor, Dr. Fong, who is revealed to be the mother of one of his most promising student, Li Fong. Dr. Fong expresses her disapproval of her son's involvement in Kung Fu, believing it only encourages his troublesome behavior. However, Sifu Han calmly defends his teaching, explaining that he trains Li solely in the art of self-defense and discipline. Dr. Fong then reveals that their family will soon be relocating to New York. News that deeply unsettles Li, who insists that his destiny and heart belong in China, the home he has always known. Reluctantly, Li agrees to accompany his mother to New York. After their arrival, they check into a hotel, but later that night, unable to sleep and feeling hungry, Li decides to explore the unfamiliar city streets in search of dinner. Wandering through the lively lights of New York, he stumbles upon a small neighborhood cafe called Victoria Pizza, where he orders a stuffed crust slice. The waiter, Victor Lapani, mockingly tells Li to drive 20 miles to New Jersey if he wants a stuffed crust pizza. As the tension grows, Victor's daughter, Mia Lapani, steps in and apologizes for her father's rude behavior. With a warm smile, she explains that they don't serve stuffed crust at the cafe, but offers Li a few other options from the menu. Grateful for her kindness, Li places an order and leaves his hotel address for delivery later that evening. The next morning, Li begins his first day at college, sitting for his entry examinations. The bustling campus and unfamiliar environment leave him feeling disoriented and out of place, struggling to adapt to his new life in America. Later that day, while walking back to his hotel, he unexpectedly runs into Mia, the girl he met the previous night at the restaurant. Surprised by his fluency, Mia asks, "How come your English is so good?" Li smiles and explains that his mother is a resident of Hong Kong, where he attended an American school. As their friendship grows, Mia offers to show Li around the city. During their tour, Li's attention is drawn to a local karate school, and he tells Mia that he once trained in karate back in China. However, Mia quickly warns him not to get involved with that particular dojo. Moments later, as they walk away, a stern man named O'Shea, the owner of the gym, calls out to Mia. Demanding repayment of money owed by her father inside the gym, O'Shea informs one of his students, Connor, that he saw his girlfriend, Mia, outside the dojo with another man. The news sparks Connor's jealousy and anger. Meanwhile, Mia and Li stop by an electronics store, where Mia struggles to afford a laptop priced at $600. Using his charm and fluency in Chinese, Li negotiates with the shop attendant, convincing him to lower the price to $450, under the mistaken impression that Mia is his girlfriend. Li jokes that if Mia learns Chinese, she'll be able to score more discounts in Chinatown, a skill he offers to teach her. In return, she agrees to teach him how to navigate New York City like a local. She tells him she gets off work early on Sundays, making it the perfect day to start their lessons. That evening, Li excitedly tells his mother about Mia, his new friend in America. The next morning, Li and Mia begin their day together, riding through the city on a scooter as their exchange of culture and friendship deepens. When the scooter suddenly breaks down, Li and Mia switch to the train, continuing their cultural exchange as Li teaches her basic Chinese phrases. Their lighthearted lesson is abruptly interrupted when Connor, Mia's jealous boyfriend, appears looking furious. Sensing trouble, Mia pleads with him not to start a scene, but as they step off the train, Connor lashes out and punches Li in the face, leaving him with a painful eye injury. Mia explains that Connor is the reigning karate champion of New York City, training at the same dojo Li had noticed earlier. She admits her father has repeatedly warned her to stay away from Connor, but she feels trapped and unable to break free from him. Concerned about Li's injury, Mia brings him to her father, who carefully applies makeup to conceal the bruised eye, and advises Li to rest with a warm tea bag over it to reduce the swelling. Li soon discovers that Victor was once a renowned boxing champion in the city. Later, when he returns to the hotel, his mother sternly warns him not to get involved in any fights while they are in New York, and arranges for a personal tutor to help him focus on his studies. That night, as Li flips through an old photo album, he tenderly remembers his late older brother, Li Fong, the memories stirring both sorrow and motivation within him. Back at school, Connor taunts Li once again, mocking him by calling him Beijing and provoking another fight. Overconfident in his own strength, Connor fights casually, keeping his hands in his pockets while relying solely on his powerful kicks to knock Li to the ground. Desperate, Li recalls the legendary dragon kick and makes one final attempt to strike back. But his effort fails, and Connor easily overpowers him with a brutal kick. Teachers rush in to break up the fight, but an agitated Connor shouts a final challenge at Li, telling him to face him in the upcoming Burroughs tournament if he truly wants a real fight. That night, at the restaurant, Victor is confronted by O'Shea's hired goons, who threaten him and demand immediate repayment of his outstanding debt. A sudden brawl breaks out, and Li instinctively steps in to defend Victor. Drawing on his martial arts training, he single-handedly takes down all three of O'Shea's goons, saving Victor from a dangerous beating. Amazed by his skill, Victor asks how he managed to fight them off, and Li modestly reveals that he once trained in Kung Fu. Victor then confesses that he had borrowed money from O'Shea's gang, and unable to repay it, has been harassed ever since, a burden he fears will only escalate. Victor then pleads with Li to train him in Kung Fu so he can compete in the upcoming tournament once more. If he wins, he explains, the prize money would be enough to clear his debt and pay for Mia's college education. He admits that his life changed the day Mia was born. He quit fighting to raise her, sacrificing the career he once had. Moved but conflicted, Li refuses, explaining that he cannot teach or fight anymore because of a personal promise he made, a promise rooted in painful memories from his past. After seeking guidance from Sifu Han, Li finally agrees to train Victor, determined to help him become strong enough to compete and reclaim his life. They transform the restaurant's storage room into a makeshift gym, where Victor begins his intense training. However, Mia disapproves of her father returning to the ring and warns Li that if Victor gets hurt, the responsibility will fall squarely on him. As the days pass, Li trains Victor in both mental discipline and practical kung fu skills, teaching him how to control his power, snap his wrist for sharper punches, use palm strikes effectively, and build the speed necessary to survive in the ring. Late one evening, after an exhausting session, Li finally opens up to Victor and shares the heartbreaking story of how his older brother, Fong, lost his life. A tragedy that shaped Li's promise never to fight again.
Li recounts the tragic night that changed his life forever. After winning a major kung fu tournament in Beijing, his brother Fong was ambushed in the streets by the very fighter he had defeated. A man consumed by anger and humiliation. Outnumbered, the confrontation quickly turned violent, and one of the attackers pulled a knife and stabbed Fong. Li remembers Fong calling out to him for help, but fear paralyzed him, leaving him unable to defend his own brother. From that moment on, overwhelmed by guilt, Li swore never to fight again. At a bustling carnival, Li feels a surge of jealousy when he spots Mia with Connor, though he keeps his distance. On the day of the tournament, he tries to avoid speaking to her, still hurt by what he saw. After a tense exchange, Mia reassures him that she has ended her relationship with Connor for good. Meanwhile, Victor prepares for the biggest fight of his comeback, stepping into the ring in the red corner as the crowd gathers in anticipation. Victor opens the match with a powerful punch, and Mia cheers for him with unwavering support. But the momentum quickly shifts as his opponent retaliates with a barrage of heavy blows. The turning point comes when Victor is struck by a sharp elbow to the face, momentarily blinding him, followed by a devastating knockout strike that sends him crashing to the mat. For a moment, Li freezes, paralyzed by the same fear that once cost his brother's life, while Mia desperately calls out for his help. Victor is rushed to the hospital in critical condition. Weeks pass, and although Li feels deeply unsettled and weighed down by guilt, he cannot bring himself to visit Victor. After Li repeatedly avoids his calls, Sifu Han travels to New York to check on him. Dr. Fong, however, remains cautious and skeptical about Han's sudden visit. With renewed courage inspired by his mentor, Li finally goes to the hospital, where he apologizes to Victor for everything, including the burden that his closed restaurant now faces because of the attack. Sifu Han tells Li that he must enter the Burroughs tournament, not for revenge, but to overcome the fear that has held him captive since his brother's death. He instructs Li to find a proper place for them to train. Seeking further support, Han reaches out to an old friend, Sensei Daniel LaRusso, asking him to help prepare Li for the challenge ahead. The next morning, Alan secures a quiet garden space where Li can train without distraction. Under Han's guidance, Li begins an intense regimen, learning to sharpen his focus and master new drills each day as his confidence slowly grows. Sensei LaRusso soon joins their training sessions, and after observing Li's strong kung fu foundation rooted in his heritage, he tells him that to win the Burroughs tournament, he must master a new speed-based technique. Meanwhile, Connor undergoes his own brutal and aggressive training in preparation for the competition. During a quiet moment, Li confides in Sifu Han that Mia has stopped speaking to him ever since her father's fight, and he fears he has lost her for good. Determined to help, Han devises a plan to mend their friendship. He orders a pizza delivery to the garden, knowing Mia will be the one to bring it. Giving Li the chance to talk to her again, Li apologizes to Mia and asks for her forgiveness, telling her he has decided to compete in the Burroughs tournament, and that he hopes she will stand in his corner. In the opening round, Li faces Stevens, defeating him with a sharp, well-timed head kick knockout. In round 2, he overpowers Tornado with a rapid series of kicks, securing his place in the semifinals. At the same time, Connor fights his way through the bracket with equal determination, earning his own place in the finals. After a grueling semifinal match, Li emerges victorious, securing his place in the championship round. Fearing Li's growing strength, Connor secretly sends his goons to attack him, but they are swiftly and decisively taken down by Sifu Han and Sensei LaRusso. The tournament officials announce that the final match will take place in 1 week, with the champion set to walk away with a grand prize of $50,000. The countdown to the ultimate showdown begins. Sensei LaRusso advises Li that to defeat Connor, he must learn to set traps, turning his opponent's own aggression against him. Together, LaRusso and Sifu Han guide him through a series of intricate trap techniques, sharpening his timing and precision. During training, Li demonstrates the dragon kick, the signature move he once learned from his late brother. He admits to LaRusso that he attempted the technique on Connor before, but Connor saw it coming and countered with a punishing kick. LaRusso explains that Li must use the same technique to bait and trap Connor, but this time, he must learn to drop low enough to evade Connor's counterkick before launching his strike. To train him, LaRusso brings him to the metro turnstiles, challenging Li to execute the dragon kick while passing under the bar without hitting his head. After several attempts, Li finally succeeds, proving he can now drop low enough to make the technique unstoppable.
On the day of the final match, Dr. Fong arrives to support her son, standing proudly among the crowd. As Li steps into the ring, his mentors remind him of their strategy. "Tonight, we're trapping a tiger." Moments later, Connor enters the arena, determined to end the long-awaited showdown and defeat the fighter he believes stole his girlfriend and his pride. Li Fong struggles through the first round as Connor unleashes a barrage of powerful side kicks, quickly gaining the upper hand and leaving Li's corner deeply concerned. But fueled by determination, Li regains his confidence and launches a fierce counterattack, blocking Connor's constant strikes with newfound precision. He delivers a perfectly executed 1-inch punch, sending Connor crashing to the floor. Infuriated, Connor charges forward with a series of rapid aggressive blows, but Li slips past each one, finally landing a clean front kick to even the score, 4 points each. Li takes the lead after landing a sharp low kick on Connor, but the momentum shifts in an instant when Connor delivers a brutal strike to the back of Li's head. Li crashes to the mat, the impact triggering painful memories of his brother's final moments. As the referee begins the countdown, the crowd erupts, chanting Li's name, willing him back to his feet. Li rises just as the referee announces a sudden death rule. The next point wins. Hearing this, Li calmly prepares the trap, the perfected dragon kick. He charges forward, while Connor watches him with laser focus, ready to unleash the same counterkick he used to stop him once before. Li drops low, dodging Connor's front kick, then strikes his leg and follows with a front kick that sends Connor to the ground. Li wins the Borough Championship, but an unsatisfied Connor attacks him again. Li swiftly takes him down, but Han intervenes and tells him not to finish. Looking furious, Li steps back. Thanks for watching.